Hello everyone, thank you for stopping on this video. Thank you for joining me on my channel. Please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get the new videos that are coming up in the next little while, doing a whole new different series. I also wanted to mention a couple of things. We have a live stream purchase available for you on channelingjesus.com. And this live stream will give you access to 4 days of in-depth channeling by Jesus and Ananda that's coming up in the second week of October. So go to channelingjesus.com and sign up for that live stream. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to get a window into the retreats we do, and it's very, very affordable for 6, 7, 8 hours of channeling information. Also on channelingjesus.com, you will see the information about our Costa Rica retreat, which is coming up at the end of January 2024. We're very excited about it. We have rented the entire hotel, so there's poolside cabins and we're on the beach. It's 5 days of in-depth channeling experience. That is not going to be available on live stream, so you need to come in person to experience that. We've got a lot of people coming already, so it's going to be an amazing group, and we'd love to see you there. So please do consider joining us in Costa Rica, January 22nd to 27th. And now let's go to our latest episode of How to Save Your Life. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. Today, we are very honored. Today, we're going to listen to Carol Morgan, who is my business manager and really good friend. And amongst she's a bunch of other things too, which will come out in the story. Carol and I have known each other for 5 years. We just had our 5th anniversary. And boy, what a story it is. This is going to be a little bit of a longer format than the other How to Save Your Life episodes that I've done. So welcome, Carol. Thank you for joining me today.
Tina, thank you for having me. This is so fun. Thank you.
It's so funny because we talk to each other every day. So
I know. And in this format, right? During Zoom.
All right, I'm going to start with the regular questions, and then you can extrapolate into your amazing journey of A Course in Miracles. So, how long have you been doing A Course in Miracles?
I started in 2017, middle of 2017.
2017, so five and a half, 6 years.
6 years.
What prompted you to begin?
The transformation that I saw in my husband. He found the course through your YouTube channel, through reading your material. He did it for an entire year before I decided that it was worth the shot. And when I saw his transformation, I thought, I have to jump in on this bandwagon.
Cool. So it was the dramatic results of your husband.
Absolutely.
How did you feel doing the lessons? Were they hard? Were they easy? Did you enjoy them? Did you think they were silly? How did the lessons feel to you?
I don't think I've ever done the lessons completely and perfectly as they should be done. So there's some resistance somewhere in me. I forget, or I forget. One of the three. But I love them. At the beginning, I didn't understand what I was doing. So it was more repetition than anything. And it didn't really mean much to me. The whole, this chair means nothing to me. For example, it's like, okay, this lesson means nothing to me. It's pretty weird. But eventually, I want to say in the probably late hundreds, early 200s, something clicked. And then it was like a completely different experience. I couldn't not do them. Again, I've never done them perfectly, but it was like, okay, what is the next one? And then I started applying them outside of whatever it is that you're doing that day.
Right. So like if you had a little upset or something, you'd use one of the lessons to help you.
Exactly. And I still, we've turned it, you and I, into a verb. I ACIM myself, because as soon as I lose peace right now, I go to it. It's automatic. And the first thing I tell myself is, I could see peace instead of this. Yeah. That's my go-to lesson. And then it could go into other lessons, but that one is the one that calms me down and gives me that gift of that pause so that I don't react.
Yeah, right. Okay. Um, can you give us a dramatic result that you know was the course in action?
The course saved my marriage and it saved my life. Can it get any more
Can it
dramatic
get
than
any more
that?
dramatic? No, no.
Yes, it did. When Scott found the course, my husband, him and I were going through the most challenging time in our lives and in our relationship. It was very dark. It was a very difficult period. And he just felt like he needed to look for something that was uplifting. And he found a YouTube video of yours. And he started following you at the same time that I was going into integrative nutrition school. So it sounds kind of roundabout, but the interesting thing is that some of the concepts that he was hearing, both in the course and from your teachings through you, were similar to what I was experiencing in integrative nutrition.
Mhm.
The idea of, for example, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience and given a half a chance, the body will heal itself, et cetera, et cetera. So not the same words, but very similar concepts.
Right.
So it was very interesting that he was going around it his way and I was going around it my way. So kind of like in the infinity symbol,
Mm,
we came to the same point and then we started comparing notes and we both became fascinated.
mm,
So what happened in that time was that with him being able to forgive, and I'll come back to that, I'm going to say forgive because he forgave many things that had happened in our relationship to the level and the extent to which he could forgive up until that point. But
mm,
that is what saved our marriage. And it saved my life because we were not going anywhere good. It was getting very dark. It was getting very difficult, and it wasn't going to end well. The outlook wasn't good. And through that, when I saw his change, I thought, okay, here I am raised Catholic, and now I don't even have that religion to help me out of the hole I am in.
mm.
And the reason why I didn't have that was because I had gone through that very difficult period with no explanation through my religion of why, if I was a good person, I was having the experience that I was having.
Right.
So I lost the religion, the faith that I had had until now. I didn't even know how to pray anymore. And at the same time, I was seeing what was happening with him. So at that point, I decided to open my very closed Catholic mind and say, well, maybe there is something to this. Let's say that I don't believe it's Jesus that really channeled this text. Why don't give it a try? Why don't I give it a try? So my
Mhm.
first step was actually to read Jesus, my autobiography, your third book.
Right.
Scotty gifted it to me and he said, you really should read this book first. And I was very reluctant. I thought you were full of it. I'm like, yeah, Jesus, whatever. But I thought, well, the joke might be on me because he is living a completely different life. He looks happier. He is happier. Why not give it a try? And at that point was where I changed my outlook. And since then, I've been living with two questions that guide my life, which is why not and what if, which is very different from how I grew up with the closed Catholic mentality.
Which it
So,
was hell no, probably.
right. It's like, hell no. Jesus, no, that woman, she's going to hell. My husband is going with her. So, anyway, I decided, why not? I'm going to read this book. If you would have seen me and if you would have known me, you would have laughed because it was 180-degree change in me within like the first pages of the book. All of a sudden,
Wild, isn't it? The effect that that book had on you.
it's incredible, Tina. That book like completely changed my outlook in life. And again, it was within the first several pages, I recognized Jesus's voice. I recognized truth in those words. And the funny thing is that I had heard stories of him being Mary Magdalene's man. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so terrible. And when I read it in that book, I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense. So weird, right?
But
So,
now that you think about what's come from our relationship, that was how I was affected by the Course in Miracles. It completely took over my life and changed my mind 100% very, very quickly. I didn't read anything else. I wasn't interested in anything else. And it's like that was the key that turned the lock into this new phase of your life, right? And it was like 100% straight away.
completely. It's like, I'm all in. I'm all in. So then from that point on, what happened was that many times in that book, Jesus says, you should do a course in miracles. I'm like, okay, Jesus, I'm going to do a course in miracles. And that's how it all started. It was right there. But as you say, it was a complete change of everything, because from then on, my life was never the same. It will never be the same. It can't be. It can't be. And this was in 2017. By the time I met you, I wasn't done, but I was already well into the course, the lessons, and the rest is history. I meet you. I know I need to help you. I don't know why. I didn't have time, as I wrote in my email to you. I didn't need the money. And I didn't know how you needed help, but I just knew you needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I reached out to you to see if you needed help. And that email, again, having courage, right? I thought you would think that I was crazy, and you sort of did.
Well, I
And
didn't really, but I just fired someone who was my assistant. And so I was bruised from that. And I was like, oh, no, I've got to do this by myself because I can't trust people. I didn't, I was just, I had had a little bit of a trauma from the previous person that I was working with.
yeah,
But
rightfully so.
then when you sent me the second email,
The second email, okay, it's like, okay, I
I
am
was,
just gasping here.
I was going under for the third time. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So yes, Tina, that's how a life can change, because I went from having a very traumatic 5 years of my life, because it was a 5 year dark night of the soul, to moving from a corporate life that I had built and very conscientiously, very intently. I had created what I wanted. And then when I had it, I didn't want it anymore. I went from that to breaking free, to breaking my mind open so that light could really come in, so that truth could really come in, seeing my life in a completely different light, and being grateful for every single aspect of what I had created, and being aware that I had created it, not that I was an innocent victim of it, and create what I have now, which is complete freedom. Yes, I have difficulties like everybody has them. I have challenges. I still have 3D things that I deal with, but overall, it's a pretty amazing life that has
You and
been
I share our own, well, we share the experience of being friends and each of us having amazing lives
right.
because of the course. So this is the reason that I'm doing this series, right? Is
Mhm.
to convince people that sitting down doing these lessons seems kind of boring and kind of weird, and like nothing seems to be happening. But you haven't heard anything yet. So it's 5 years. I've been getting some memories coming up on Facebook, and of course the Taiwan memories are coming up. So um, when Carol contacted me to help me, I had just started doing retreats overseas. And so she helped me organize a retreat that I was completely messing up, and that went great, but she didn't come to it because she was unable to. And then in the September, I was invited to Taiwan, and I contacted Carol. Well, we were contacting each other daily at that point, I think. And I said to Carol, I wanted her to come with me because I don't like channeling by myself. I always like to have someone there who's kind of keeping an eye on things and making sure I'm okay, because I'm obviously not that present when I'm channeling. And so Carol Carol and I got on a plane and we went to Taiwan. And basically, we'd never spent any time together. We didn't really know each other.
No.
And I'll let you take the story from there.
Yes, that was another act of courage because, well, I was super excited. I'm like, Taiwan, like, yes. But at the same time, a trip can make or break a friendship or a relationship of any sort. We
Yep.
didn't know each other. And what was it, like 12 or 13 days? We shared a little room in Taiwan. But it was fascinating. We had so much fun. It was like this that we clicked. So I believe it was like your third event there, and 70 people were in that room.
Mhm.
That was at that point, it was your biggest channeling event. And I was in the audience with everybody else, just excited as everybody else to hear Jesus speak. And you begin and you start channeling a meditation. That in that meditation, Jesus asks us to walk to a being that has a message for us. So I'm walking towards the being, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, that's not human. And I have never seen Xena, which I know now that what I was seeing was Xena. I've never seen him. I perceive the energy. That's it. I would love to see him one day, but apparently I would curl into the fetal position if I ever did. So here I am. I haven't seen him. But when I walked to this being, I realized that it was not anything from Earth. It was too tall. It was too big. It was too magnificent. I don't have the human words to describe it. But at that point, Jesus said, this being has a message for you. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take my message. This is pretty strange, but I'll take my message. And the message was, you're on your way to changing the world. So I thought, okay, no pressure here. That's no small message, but hey, okay, thank you. I come out of the meditation and then I start furiously writing. First, I wrote that message in the back of a Taiwanese 7-Eleven receipt, which I still have. And then I grabbed my journal and then I started writing and writing and writing. And like 6 pages of writing
You were
came.
channeling.
I was channeling, which I had never done like that. I had taken a channeling class and I had verbally channeled once. I freaked myself out and I stopped. That was in September of 17. So I thought, you know what? This is it. There's no way, Tina, I'm never going to channel like you. I am never going to ever answer any questions for anybody. Anyway, I had a list of I'll never. And that was one. I had channel written a little bit, but it was just a little bit. And again, it was kind of weird. So I didn't want to really get into it. But this was inevitable. There was no stopping it. And in that transmission, they introduced themselves as the Blue Avians, which apparently at that time I didn't know much about. They were ETs, extraterrestrial consciousness. And I had never been interested in extraterrestrial life. As I always say, I was comfortable with what I thought I knew and what I thought I could control. And that was that for that. But they introduced themselves.
But your husband was very interested in ETs.
Yes, he was. He was the opening act, basically. He was the catalyst that allowed for this contact to take place because he kept incessantly asking for contact in a way that wouldn't scare him. So I was the way that wouldn't scare him. So they said that they are here to help humanity ascend in their ascension journey by simplifying information that is spiritual in nature, but there's so much out there that we don't even understand. And they just break it into small, digestible concepts that we can implement in our daily lives. Okay, I am God, but I still have bills. And yes, I am Christ consciousness, but I still have troubles at home. So how do you bring that to your daily life? And that is basically what they are doing with us. Never again will my life be the same. After that, after I wrote that, I showed it to you. I called my husband. I'm like, what is happening? And then you asked me to channel them on the plane on the way back. And I thought,
Of
hey,
course.
this is going to be really weird. And you said, they're just going to think you're talking to me. So I did it. It was strange, but it happened. And then when I was done channeling, they kept talking. And that's when they said that this type of communication is telepathic. I don't have to go
Not
into
accidental.
trance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what's that thing you're wearing around your neck, Carol Morgan?
So, Tina Spalding, this is an attunement necklace, and this is the holder of truth. I'm going to show it to you in bigger. So, what happened with that introduction is that I started drawing these energy attunements. And basically,
So
they are,
beautiful.
thank you very much, Tina. This one's the holder of truth. They all come with a message. The message on this one is love is all there is. Love is who you really are. In embracing yourself, you hold your truth. So this one is being herself. That's how she holds her truth. So these black and white drawings come to me in pencil. I just draw them in pencil, then they get digitized by one of my business partners. And what they do is they open the way for you to experience energy at its maximum. It's not an upgrade, it doesn't require your consent, but it basically plants the seed and you decide if you water it. They don't have a meaning per se, there's no human words to them,
Well,
but
they remind me of crop circles. They really do,
right?
like some of the elements of crop circles and light
Mhm.
language. But
Yes,
how many of these things have you transmitted?
almost 70,
70.
70.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's incredible. And they're all beautiful and they all have amazing messages. We'll give the details of Carol's, how you can experience these attunements, because this is your assignment.
This is my assignment. This is it. And we have them, the ones that have been digitized are all on the website for free for people to take a look at them. That's all they need to do in order to open up the way. But if people want to help us with this campaign, that we have this mission of attuning the world, then they can purchase something. We have shirts and things like that for people to look at them and be attuned, whether they know it or not, which is amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms of the rest of your life, you used to live in Minnesota and have an office job.
Yes, yes. Corporate Carol went out the door 2 years ago in August, but corporate Carol was around this realm for almost 30 years. And corporate Carol is what I wanted to be. That was my mission. I grew up in a well-off family in Costa Rica. Very easy life. I lacked nothing. I don't have any childhood trauma. It was a loving environment. I had a good childhood, but I always knew there was something else that I wanted, and that something else was calling me in the United States. So I left and created exactly what I wanted to create. But when I created it, I realized that I wasn't happy.
Mhm.
That's not what I wanted. Yes, I had the money that I wanted to make. I had given myself this goal of how much I wanted to earn in salary a year. And when I met it, there was no satisfaction. Like, oh, okay, well, I made it. Well, I'm still pretty miserable because I'm a slave to somebody's schedule,
Yeah.
even though it was a very flexible job and it was a good job and I was good at it. It was not feeding my soul. So if there's no passion, you slowly kill yourself in a corporate job.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. And part of that discontent showed itself in my relationship with my husband. I believe that that's part of what
Part of
precipitated
the
my
problem.
demise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now your life looks like what? You are such a quick study. I think this is amazing. In 5 years, you've gone from 0 to 1,000 in 5 years. So what do you do with your life now?
Well, Tina, I think I'm a quick study because you opened up the way for a lot of us. And credit's got to go with credit is due. Because if I wouldn't have had you to show the way, as many people have had you to show their way, this would have been a very different story. Because anybody can think, I am going nuts. This is insane. I mean, it's like, what the definition of what is it's not psychosis, it's the other one. It's
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia, exactly.
You
It's
and
like,
I technically are schizophrenic.
right? It's like, hey, I hear voices. All right.
Yeah.
So having you not only as an inspiration but a support really made this easier for me. So yes, it took you longer because there were less channelers at that time. It was less accepted. You were trailblazing. Yes, there was Abraham Hicks and Edgar Casey in the Law of One people, but it was not as accepted or as open as it is today. So I want to give credit where credit is due, because without you I wouldn't be where I am, and I have no illusions that it would be any other way. But with that said, now my life is free. I'm all about freedom. First of all, I'm a Sagittarius. We're both Sagittarius. Can't cage us up, can you?
Don't fence us in, man.
No, no, and I have been there, and it's not a good place to be.
No.
So I have a very free life. I moved away from Minnesota. I had lived there 29 years and I had completed my cycle there, and I just needed to get out. And my dream was to move to the Black Hills of South Dakota. The energy is absolutely beautiful. The land is amazing. People are great. So I set my sight, despite my husband's reluctance. He loves it here. I am here now in the hills. He loves it, but he is very careful with money and very, well, let's just call him careful. When I'm not, I'm like, oh, money, there's just going to be more next month in the account. Let's just spend it, right? Let's just go for it. So, despite that, and despite his idea that he needed to work up until retirement age to get the pension that he always thought he was going to get, I didn't give up. And I just went at it, and I just went at it, and I just went at it. And finally, we made it to the Black Hills. And it's a beautiful life. I travel the world with you and on my own, doing retreats, meeting absolutely beautiful people all around the world, enjoying the online community that you created, the one that I created. There's some overlap, but very different feelings to them. I love the interactions. I mentor people. I sit here and I talk to amazing people all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And when I want time off, I take time off. I took basically 2 months off this year. So it's an amazing life. Now, I want to say this because a lot of people think that when you are a spiritual being, everything is pink unicorns and lemonade. And that's not the case. So fast forward 12 years after Scotty and I having this very difficult period in our lives, June or July of this year, bam, whatever was the catalyst 12 years ago rears up again.
Mm-hmm.
And the forgiveness that I thought he had done wasn't completed.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he had done it to the best of his ability to that layer, but there's layer upon layer.
Layer upon layer, and we all have to go through this. It's like a spiral, right? You go around, think, oh, I've done that, and then you're like, oh shit, there it is again. Yeah.
Oh, shit is right. And it reared its ugly face again in July of this year. And I have been working through it. Do I have the answer? I don't have the answer. Do I think we can make it? I think we can make it, but I don't know.
Have the course.
Yes, thank God.
Every single day, you and I say, thank God for the course.
Thank God for the course. Without the course, well, again, I wouldn't have made
I
it
wouldn't be
round
alive.
one.
I wouldn't be alive.
No, no. And in round two, definitely I wouldn't have made it. So yes, the course is a must, really, for people that are looking to break free from their own minds. The other day, I was describing my mind as a minefield, and ACIM is the map. It gives us grace to navigate that minefield, the minefield of the mind. Yes, the minefield of
Funny,
the
I've
mind.
been singing this song for the last few days. It's a Sting song, and he says, have to be careful not to step on the mines I laid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Past. We lay mines for ourselves in the past and we step on them. And yeah, so there is so much more to Carol's story. If you go to xinaallen.com, so that's XINAALLEN.com, xinaallen.com.
Mhm.
You can see all of Carol's attunements. You can find your the access to your online community is there.
Yes.
Because seriously, you're all going to have lots of questions, and this is the story she's just told is like 25% of what's happening to her. Carol's the example of what the Course can do for you. And I think a lot of people, when they look at the Course, they're like, oh, it's so cumbersome. I don't want to do something every day. But if you're watching this video, if you've heard about the Course in Miracles, I say do it, because the transformation that it can make in your inner experience and your outer world is so beyond your ability to comprehend if you haven't done it, that you literally don't know what you're saying no to. You literally don't know what you're saying no to. And with what's going on in the world and all the changes that are happening, if you don't have something like this, which is a very, very, all you have to do is buy the book. You know, I have, I don't know, 800 videos or whatever on YouTube. But all you need is the book. It's a $50 book. Yes, it's a little pricey, but literally your enlightenment is contained within that book. The books I've written and all the videos I've done are supports to help you on that journey. But literally everything you need is in that book. So you don't need to spend a fortune. But I mean, I can't emphasize enough how I wish I could get everybody to do the Course. And that's really why I started doing these videos, not just this how to save your life videos, but when I first started doing videos 10 years ago, what I came to understand was this, that people don't need to suffer, but they don't know that they don't need to suffer. And that was my motivation for doing all of this work. You don't need to suffer, but you think you do. And really, you don't suffer anymore, Carol.
No, not like I used to.
I mean,
And Tina,
have those little upsets, or big
as
upsets, but
yeah,
they don't last, right?
as soon as they come, I'm on it. Because once you know what living in true peace is, you can't have any tolerance for not peace. No tolerance. So yes, as soon as I start suffering, I reel my mind back in. I understand that I'm seeing something incorrectly. And rather than blaming the world for how I feel, I go within. And if I don't understand it right away, I sit with it. And rather than fight what is, I radically accept it. And once I understand where I am and how I put myself there, then I move forward. But I don't suffer the way that I used to.
No, it's true. We do get triggered, and we do these old mines. We step on them, and
Right.
they explode. And then, but luckily, we don't spend a lot of time there.
And when I'm suffering and I don't have the answers, I call you so you slap some sense into me. It's like, what? Wake up. And then I'm okay.
So what's your parting comment for people who are watching right now?
That nothing in life comes without effort. And if you think that spending time trying to figure this book out is too cumbersome, I say the alternative is what is cumbersome. Life can be so much more simple than it is when your mind is tamed. If your mind is running away with you, it is too difficult. So I invite anyone listening to this to ask what if and why not, and give it a try.
Give it a try.
Give it a try.
Okay, my love. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And as I said, if you want more of Carol, go to xinaallen.com, and she's got endless information, channelings, videos, attunements. It's a very, very large library that you have created in such a short time. So thanks, Carol, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Tina.